Hello everyone and welcome back to JoJo's Book Club. Today we have a new story for you and it's called The Smallest Girl in the Smallest Grade. It's written by Justin Roberts and illustrated by Christian Robinson. Have you ever seen this book before? This is my first time reading it and I was really drawn to the title, The Smallest Girl in the Smallest Grade. I wondered what this story might be about. I'm sure it's about the smallest girl, but what is the smallest girl in the smallest grade going to do? What do you think? Well, let's find out, everyone. The Smallest Girl in the Smallest Grade, written by Justin Roberts and illustrated by Christian Robinson. Here on the end paper, we see 3 children on one side with a kite, and then another child on the other side looking up at the kite. I wonder what that has to do with the story. The end paper sometimes gives us clues about what the story will tell us. This book is published by G.P. Putnam Sons, an imprint of Penguin Group in the U.S. Here's another clue on the title page on the inside of the book. I notice a line of children, and I notice Sally McCabe, who's the smallest girl in the smallest grade, is noticing something. What do you notice is different? Hardly anyone noticed Sally McCabe. Do you see her? She was the smallest girl in the smallest grade. Sure, her name could be heard in the daily roll call as she marched with her books down the same school hall, but hardly anyone noticed young Sally McCabe, and they certainly didn't know, or at least didn't mention, that Sally McCabe was paying super extra special attention. To the abandoned kite with the tangled string, to the 27 keys on the janitor's ring, to the leaves as they turned green to gold in the fall, to the time Tommy Torino was tripped in the hall. She watched as the wildflowers tipped toward the light and heard the howl of a hound dog late one night. She was there when the stray cats who normally fought conducted a meeting in the church parking lot. She even saw Kevin McEwen get pushed off a slide and the oncoming tears that he wanted to hide. And she'll never forget that parent-teacher day when Billy's much larger father suddenly dragged him away. But through all the mean words and all the cold stares, no one even noticed that Sally was there. And they certainly didn't know, or at least didn't mention, that Sally was paying super extra special attention. Now, I wonder, what kinds of things is Sally noticing? And why might Sally notice these things? Have you seen behavior like this around you? How would you describe it, and how does it make you feel? She'd seen how a whisper could make someone cower, like a bulldozer crushing through fields of wildflowers. And it kept piling up, this discarded debris, those beautiful kites tangled in trees. So, on February 3rd, at 11:29, Sally stepped straight out of the lunchroom line. She said, "I'm tired of seeing this terrible stuff. Stop hurting each other. This is enough." Now, a few laughed out loud or didn't care that there was some girl with her hand up in the air. But then something super extra special happened that day as Howard O. Henry suddenly set down his tray. Which student do you think is Howard O. Henry? How can you tell? Like waves rolling in, one after another, first Molly rose up, then Michael's twin brother. It was Tyrone and Terence and then Amanda and Paul who pushed out their chairs and stretched their arms tall. From the friendly lunch lady with the dishes she carted to that new third-grade teacher who had only recently started. Yes, everyone there, even Principal Claire, had joined little Sally with their fingers in the air. What does that mean? Why are all their fingers in the air? What are they saying? And though hound dogs were destined to howl at night, and most stray cat meetings would end up as fights, and kites would continue to get stuck in trees, they all felt for a moment like the janitor's keys, fastened together with a heavy steel ring that held all the secrets to unlock everything. What do you think that means? That they all felt for a moment like the janitor's keys, fastened together. As the world returned to the way that it was, Sally noticed a difference, as she usually does. When Billy paused briefly to open the door for Mrs. O'Connell and 17 more. Or when Molly scooched over to make some space on the coral riser for Ellen and Grace. These moments that often get taken for granted, a wildflower appearing that nobody planted. The swings soon resumed their rhythm and sway, and day turned to night and night turned to day. People remembered and would quite often mention that Sally had been paying super extra special attention, and how the world could transform and a change could be made by the smallest girl in the smallest grade. Here we have the dedication page and a picture. And the author says, this book is dedicated to all those who are paying super extra special attention. And the illustrator said that this book is dedicated to Yvonne. Thank you for standing up for me. And then the last of the paper shows that Sally McCabe also gets a turn with the kite. I hope you enjoyed today's story. I wonder why the author decided to make this story. What do you think they were trying to tell us? Are you the smallest person in your grade? How does that make you feel? Do you know someone who's the smallest person in your grade? I wonder why the author chose Sally McCabe to be the one who noticed everything around her. I also wonder how she felt when she stepped out of line and said, "Enough is enough. Stop hurting each other." Could you have done that? When you've seen people treating each other poorly, I wonder how it makes you feel, and I wonder what you've done about it. I'm also wondering what we can do as people and what we can do as a whole community when we see things that are happening that just shouldn't be. Well, I hope this book inspires you to stand up and to speak out, no matter what your size is. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.